Hello, good evening, and welcome indeed. This is an evening with the gang again. It's Thursday night, so this is what we do. I don't know how long we'll be going on for. Probably 90 minutes, because I say an hour and then I give up. So I'll probably say it's going to be an hour and a half now, and hopefully it'll be an hour and a half, and it won't be 2 hours or 4 hours, or we can do 8. But no, I'm not going to do that tonight. Right, joining me tonight, we have from Mr. Loth's Model Making, we've got Vincent, who's playing with hot things.
So hello.
And we have Spiddy 8 himself with a mug that's got 36 on it.
Fujifilm. It's a roll of film.
Okay, yeah.
It's a bit of a hangover from my
35 mil. Yeah.
It's an excellent film, that one, by the way, for portrait photography. It's very good.
Do they still make it?
Yes, that particular one they do. They're getting sort of thinner and thinner on the ground films now, but yeah, there are still some that you can get. But Fujifilm were always very, very good for this MPS for portrait photography, brilliant. And then they did another one, the name escapes me offhand, which was really, really good for landscape stuff.
Cool.
Very vibrant colours.
Right, in the chat tonight, we've got Colin at 56. Right, we have Colin at Festa 67's workshop. Was in first, and it's being all moddy tonight as well. And we also have Mark Scale Models in, and Vincent and Smooth's in. Evening, Terry. And Mark and Shane Young's just come in. And hello, everyone. Hope you're all well. I'm fine. How's everybody else? Everyone all right?
Hey, can't complain.
Well, you can, but it doesn't make any difference. No, people ignore it when you complain.
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, there's no point in doing stuff like that. Yeah.
Much the same here. All good. Apart from this horrible weather.
Yeah, it was all rainy and nasty today, and it gets dark really early now as well. I've been playing around. I've got a new boom thing for my microphone, so it's actually just here instead of down there. So it should be about the same distance away. So I'm hoping I'm coming across clearly and the same as normal. But if I'm too loud or too quiet, sound all right? Good. Cool. Yep. Right. Phil Lewis is in and Rusty Beetle's in. You're a bit late though. You should have been here like 2 minutes ago. The chat's always open before we go live, so you can always get in a bit earlier and say hello then, and then go and make a cup of tea and come back when we're actually broadcasting. So yeah, thanks for watching. And has anyone got anything to talk about or say or show or?
Not particularly. I've really not been doing a great deal because I had my son up for a week, and then I've just been kind of recovering from a week of lazing around with my boy, and I've not gotten a great deal done. I've actually just gotten another coat of clear on the cappuccino while I was watching the premiere.
That seems to have been going on for ages. How long have you been doing that?
It's because since the last time I cleared it, I started flattening it back, and it was burning through in a couple of spots, so I needed to put another coat of clear on. And I'd sort of put it to one side with the intentions of doing that, and then I've had a few bits and pieces trying to sort with the car, and then my son was up for his holiday, and then I've just kind of not been in the mood much.
So not been there.
I've been sort of playing with the 3D printer a bit, and between work playing with that and just being exhausted, I've not done a great deal. But I've just got another coat of clear on that, and I'm just about to start painting up a bit of the interior parts.
I see a couple of seats there.
Yeah, I've got a couple of seats there which I need to do a little bit of sanding on, and then I've got all the suspension bits and the undercarriage bits and the door cards and stuff. So I'm going to do a bit of painting on those. And other than that, that's pretty much about it, really.
Cool.
Nothing too exciting to report.
No problem. And Vincent, you've been doing much?
Yeah, I'm hard at work on the Revel 1600 Enterprise. So I've got all most of the bits pre-painted. Got the windows in. Windows are cleared.
All right. Are they actually holes drilled or?
No, they're pre-cut, but I had to drill 1 or 2 holes because they weren't correct compared to the studio scale model. So. So I still have to cast those in with clear resin, the stuff that they protect tabletops with and stuff like that.
All right, yep.
And at the moment I'm hard at work soldering all the electricity up.
Nice. Phil Lewis says, I'm all right if you like that sort of thing, which personally I don't. I think, is that a Hitchhiker's quote? It sounds like it should be a Marvin quote, but I'm not entirely certain. Shane Young says, yeah, it's a very dingy day in Lowestoft, Suffolk. And Phil Lewis says that he was late in because he was watching my TIE Striker vid. Well, that was ages ago. You should have been watching that live then. That would have been finished in plenty of time to get here for this being live, because I did that. I watched that, and I'm still here early. So,
although in his defence, if he got the notification that it was live when I got the notification when it was live,
this is true. Yeah, they do need to work on that.
So yeah,
the notification. Well, the Premiere thing's a whole new thing for them, so it's going to have teething troubles. But it seemed to be quite good. I quite like it. It's nice.
It went very well generally.
It's nice to be able to interact with people as they're watching it for the first time, but obviously it's only in that bit. I understand that it saves the chat replay like it does for this sort of thing, so you can actually watch it back with the chat that was happening live then.
Oh, that's good.
And feel bad about not being part of it. So, Rusty Beetle says, I was at work. The notification came out a little bit ago, but I was busy. Yeah, being at work is a valid excuse. I'll accept that.
Yeah, I think that can be allowed, can't it?
Yeah. I think the Premiere thing, obviously I'm not going to do for every video that I do, but I might do it for the first of a new series, you know, to see how it goes for a bit and see what improvements they make as the time goes by.
I think it's kind of nice that you can have the live chat thing and you can participate in that as well, rather than just comments. That's a nice little touch.
Yeah, it's more immediate, but it means I have to watch back the video, so I might have to do it next time with the sound off, because I don't like listening to myself. I don't know anybody that likes listening to themselves back talking.
No,
you never sound like you think you're going to sound like.
No, you never sound like yourself when you listen to yourself, do you?
No, I might just start recording things with my posh BBC voice, and then it won't sound like me when I'm listening back to it. So that might work.
That might work. Yes.
What electrics are you putting in there, Vincent? Just flashy lights or sound, or
just all the lights.
All the lights for everywhere.
Yeah, like the spinny lights and the warp nacelles and the strobes on the saucers, all the backlighting for the windows. There's a lot of stuff that goes in there.
Phil Lewis says, I hate hearing my own voice. Yeah, and Rusty Beetle says, our president does. I assume that means he's likes hearing his own voice. Yeah, I can imagine that.
Well, yes, yeah.
Kenneth's in. He says, what's Spid building? It's a car.
It's a car, yes, which I started ages ago. It's kind of stalled a little bit.
Yeah, you probably won't like it, Kenneth. It's going to have wheels. It won't have tracks on it.
I could put tracks on it. I could, but I'm not going to.
Kenneth also says, hello, Vincent. You look tired.
Yeah, I've been sleeping most of the day because I coming down with a bit of a man flu.
Yeah, I mean, some of us have been working during the day, but Vincent, of course, has had the day off, so he looks tired because
I've been sleeping. That's basically it, yeah.
Yeah, see, it does actually surprise me when you don't do anything for a day. It can really exhaust you.
It's weird.
It is very tiring doing nothing.
I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me, but yeah. Phil's asking, Chris, are you going to light the TIE Striker and the U-Wing? No. No, I really don't have any desire to light kits. Some of them can look really good. I do know that they look good when they're done, but I haven't got a display cabinet or anything like that I can put things on and look at. And even if I did, I wouldn't be turning lights on and stuff.
The thing is, if you're putting them on a display cabinet or a shelf that this is being the long-term living space, so to speak, you just get either you wire everything into one centralized switch, or you just get a block of plugs with a switch on the end.
So it's just kind of like switching on a lamp and all of your models.
Yeah, everything lights up. Yeah, I like the idea of that, but I don't think I'd bother. I'm more interested in the building and painting and weathering, and then I could care less.
It'd be an interesting challenge though, because of the scale. I know Terry did an X-wing that he put lights in, didn't he? Put LEDs in.
Yeah,
and that was a tiny.
Yeah, that was, I think, 100 scale or something. He's been in the chat. He might still be there. He might answer.
Yeah, Colin from Festus Workshop did the 144 Falcon, I think he lit up.
Yeah, the Falcon. I know they do a Bandai do a kit for lighting it, which is apparently just like plug and play and sort out and easy. But you know, I don't know that I'd ever turn it back on again. I did enjoy doing the eyes on the 3PO figure, but again, it's not going to get turned on very much, if at all. It's just it was more for the experience of doing it rather than for the after effect. It's going to look nice afterwards, but I don't know.
Well, I've always fancied the idea of putting in headlights and a headlight and tail light on a motorbike kit, but just mainly so I can say I've done it. It's not something I'd want to do on a regular basis, because like yourself, it's a case of I wouldn't turn it on often enough to make it worth my while. But I'd like to do it just to be able to say I've done it, and have one with a headlight and tail light that works.
Yeah. Kenneth's asking, is Vincent soldering?
Yeah.
There you go. Scale Model Muse says, well, Spid, do you want to see what's in my Warhammery boxes?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, they looked really interesting. It was it this stream last week, or was it might have been Mark's on Wednesday?
On Mark's Vamp was in there, and that's
Muse was in there, and she had a Warhammery box, some kind of vehicles they were on a bench, and they looked really interesting. But yeah, that'd be cool. I would like to see what's in that, because the box art looked really interesting and fun.
Well, they're doing interesting stuff with orcs now as well. Now that they've revamped the codex on that.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything to me at all.
The codex is basically the handbook for that faction or race, Chris. So they revamped the orcs, so they're now valid in play again, which means that they're actually bringing out new kits as well.
Oh, right, okay. So they made them and then made them useless, and then
they've made them relevant again, yeah.
Okay.
Because they had kind of forgotten about.
Phil says the Falcon's easy. I still haven't figured out the 144 X-wing though. Yeah, I've got a 144 X-wing, or a couple of them over there, but yeah, I don't know. You put something in the canopy and the engines, but you wouldn't be able to light the lasers.
Yeah, what's the smallest LEDs you can get?
I don't know. You'd have to use some sort of fiber optic.
It would be
fun.
You could put a fiber optic through it, maybe, but it's very, very thin.
Isn't there is it called an SMD or something, which is like a really tiny?
I think they're like the ones on my light strip. I think they're like built onto. They're like flat and thin. And,
so I'm not very well up on this electric.
You get nano LEDs, which are basically really, really tiny SMDs. I've got a couple of those on my Yamato as beacon lights on the antennas.
Right, and what sort of size are they, Vincent?
The size of a pinhead. Not even
right.
That. And
that's pretty cool then. That's very tiny.
Yeah, they come on nano wire as well, which is like, it basically looks like a filament ahead.
Cool.
Right.
It looks like Scale Model Muse and Scale Model Vamp are arguing in the chat. Muse says lots of boxes, Spid, and Vamp says she's got 100 armies already. And then Muse says not that many. So yeah,
you never have enough armies. As long as you've got enough sleevers to put them in.
Well, yeah, the more armies you got, it's very handy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't actually know anything about the playability side of Warhammer. Like Vincent was talking about the codex and stuff there. I know I've heard of them, but I don't know anything about the playability side. I just think the models are cool. So I don't know. I'm assuming there are rules as to how many you can have and play at any one time.
I think they're all worth points or things. You can only have so many points per army, but you can have like 20 of them guys or one of these big guys.
Right.
Yeah, units are worth points, and it's usually either you go to an organized competition where they're like you can enter an army between that and that many points of that points.
Right.
Or when it's playing with people you know or at a club, it's usually like I'm bringing a so much point army. Whoever wants to play me is welcome.
So you can
match it, or
you can sort of set the rules yourself in a friendly environment.
A lot of people will have different setups for their armies as well, so they can take guys out, get a smaller army that they know works as well. And
Terry says 0406 LEDs are the pinhead ones.
Right.
I don't know if that means. I don't know if the 0406 is at anything of sizes, or if it's just a like a stock number or
yeah,
just an ID code for it.
Terry, what was it that you used in your little X-Wing that you lit up?
Muse says it's perfect for me, Speed. Gaming meets scale models.
Yeah, can I actually get that? I get that.
There's a Warhammer shop 10 minutes away with a building and playing group. So yeah, that makes it easier to get sucked in, I should think.
Right, yeah. Well, 10 minutes away is ideal, I guess. Unfortunately, my nearest one's 200 miles and sort of 2 hours away. Sorry, 100 miles and 2 hours away.
Well, that's why they do the internet order, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the unfortunate bit, the shame about it, when I was in Glasgow last, I went into Glasgow with my boy, and we went into the Warhammer store there, and the guys in there were really nice, really helpful. We were chatting about all sorts of stuff, and we got loads of info for him to take back to his school, to talk to a couple of the teachers there about possibly setting up a club.
I remember you talking about that, yeah.
Yeah, they do this thing where if you get a school gets in touch with a store, they'll just kind of go, here's loads of Warhammer stuff here, and just throw it at you. And they'll give you all the information to set up a club.
Yeah.
And you can play it at the school. And then the kids can actually get an interest from that and then go and play in the store and everything
First
else.
one's free, yeah.
It's not just that. There's a junior level competition in England as well. A mate of mine, when he was back, well, former mate, because I don't get to talk to him anymore. But he was, when he was in his later years of what we would call high school, I guess, he was actually in his school's Warhammer club. Unfortunately, he quit playing because his school basically said, like, we're not going to fund the bus trip for you to go over and play all that national level competition, which kind of put him off, sadly enough.
That's a shame.
Smooth says he used shaved down 3mm through holes for the X-Wing.
So it wasn't quite as small as I'd remembered it then. I thought it was smaller than that. But, I mean, it was still very tiny. I remember it was quite a squeeze getting them in. So still quite impressive.
Muse says there are other Warhammer shops about a 2-hour drive away. There's two in their state.
Yeah, but 2 hours for an American is nothing, isn't it?
I've got one in the town that I work in, but it's the other end of town that I don't go to. So, I mean, I can walk down to it, but it's, 10-minute walk to get, well, really 8-minute walk to get to it, and then the same back, obviously. And it's just, I don't bother.
Yeah.
If I need a paint particularly, I'll go and get it. But I can actually just go into the Warhammer shop and get a pot of paint and walk out with that pot of paint. I don't know why everyone has trouble with it.
You say that, but I don't think it's kind of affected you deeply enough yet.
This is quite possible. Yeah, I've been doing the Dark Elder Raider. That's what it's called. Been doing that live on Sundays. I put the little hangy decorative bits on there and stuff. I've been able to take with the inside.
The sail barge one.
Yeah, the sail barge thing, which has been coming along quite nicely. But yeah, I've been painting the people from that and things. So I need to do some more of that at the weekend. But once that's done, I'll continue to do something else. I want to try and do some more sort of proper Warhammer painting. So I've been watching some of Duncan's videos about layers and shades and filters and whatever they call them.
What Chris is saying is that quite soon he too will have a £100 cart on the Game Workshop website.
I don't want to play the game. I don't have any interest in doing that at all.
The thing is, if you're into the proper, like the Games Workshop house style of painting, if you want to do that, it gets expensive so fucking fast paint wise.
Well, there's only so many paints though. Once you've got them all, you've got them, haven't you?
True, there are a lot of paints though. If you've looked at the Citadel paint
I've
range,
gone through the app. I've scanned all my paints that I've got through the app. I've only got like
Plus, they've been very clever with the re-release, because the old paints, which when I first started using them, they were in pots like this, and I started using these because of the silver metallics, because they're a really fine pigment. You can spray them nicely, and they brush really, really well as well. And when it was these old ones, it was just a paint rack of colours. and you did whatever you did with them. You could sort of dry brush with them, or you could thin them and use them as a wash, or any of that business. But then they got really clever with the re-release of them, and they split them up into base, shade, wash,
they're using
dry brush, all that kind of thing.
Different additives, get different uses from them.
Yeah, so like the dry brush ones are like a really thick paste and whatnot, which is kind of good in a way because you can see that would last you a long, long time. But then you've got the really thinned ones, which, you know, it's very sort of clever. The way they've done it is good in the sense that people aren't having to learn how to create their own washers and thin things and do all this. It makes it really, really simple.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way you can go through the app and it shows you to do this color like this, you need these 4 paints.
Yeah.
Know that you've got them wherever. Muse is saying that she thinks I'm lying when I said I went in for a pot of paint. Well, I sort of, it wasn't paint, it was the Lamium medium that I went in and got. And I walked in, I picked up that, and I walked out with just that. It was easy. I don't know.
Did you go in with blinkers on though?
No, I went in. I walked around the shop as well. I looked at all the things on the walls, and there were 3-4 people there painting stuff as well. And I went back to the paints and couldn't see it. And he said, "Oh, you're looking for anything in particular?" And I almost called it the Labia Mermaids, but I didn't. And he said, "There it is." I said, "Oh, thanks," and I paid for it and I walked out. It was easy. Jamie Bones in, say hi everyone. Sorry I'm late. Just got home from work. Have you got a note? If you're more than 10 minutes late, you need to have a note. Everyone's saying hello to everybody. Muse says base shade dry technical layer.
That's the ones. They're the ones. Yeah.
But what's the big ones? Oh, there's texture. You forgot texture. Yeah, there's texture as well.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the texture paints, but I guess that's because it's mostly used for bases and stuff.
Yeah,
like
I think so. Some of them are really good.
Kind of crackle and stuff, aren't they?
Yeah, but I've got so many products for doing diorama bases that I'm like, I can't justify just getting that. Doing tiny little bases, might as well. You know,
you can't say and texture now, Muse. I just said it. Look, I said it there. Then you can't say I just remembered it. You remembered it because I said it.
Yeah, but that's it. I mean, for yourself, Vincent, because you do the 35th scale armor stuff. Obviously, you'll be well practiced in doing dioramas and bases and things as well, anyway. So it's kind of even less reason to shell out on texture paint specifically. Do like a cracked earth or something.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of the mud stuff from E-models when I needed it for the Zaku, and it's fine. It works lovely, and it's bigger pots and probably cheaper than the Citadel stuff. But you know, Jamie asked, Chris, have you seen the new Revel 144 submarine on the E-models store? Not specifically. I've got a submarine in my personal stash to do at some point, but I do need to find a new E-models build because once I've done this U-wing stuff, I really ought to do another one for them. So we'll go and have a look through and see what they've got.
Have you got any idea what you're fancying building next?
No idea at all. Something that I haven't built yet, but you know, I'd like to sort of spread my way across genres. So I've done
a bit of everything.
Done a plane for them. I've done
really nice because I'm so used to seeing the Zaku I liked that because I'm so used to seeing. I mean, the Gundam builds are always really nice, even whether they're just simple or whether they're sort of chipped and textured and weathered and stuff. But you're so used to sort of seeing the models made, but just as a model and it's posed and photographed and everything. But you don't see that many dioramas. And when the first Gundam builds I ever watched were Japanese builders on YouTube, and they tended to make dioramas. And they did some really interesting ones. And because of the type of model they are and the type of scale they are, I think they make really interesting dioramas as well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the Zaku, I can see it just over there. Look. You don't know the scale of it unless there's something else to tell you the scale of it. Because it could be human wearing suit rather than, you know. So they give you the pilot figure. So I thought I might as well put that next to it.
But that's what makes it interesting, I think, because it gives you a real idea of how big these things are supposed to be.
Yeah, and I like comparing the not comparing the scales because I like doing the same scale. I like comparing the different genres of things next to each other. So seeing a tank next to a Zaku and things like that. But I mean, the little diorama that I did on that, it doesn't take, the longest time is waiting for the paint to dry. It doesn't take any skill or effort to do it, and it just adds something to it. If you're not going to use it as a posable figure or anything, then just you might as well put it on a base.
Yeah, I thought it was nice. I thought it was really well done. And yeah, it does. It just adds to it, and it's anything that gives you an idea of the physical size as well. I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, so for 3 models, I've done the big plane, the Zaku. Personally, I've just done a boat. So I don't know. I'll have to have a go through and search through the store and do something. I've got the big tank that I got for my birthday from Smooth Guys, which looks really nice. I'm gonna do that at some point. So I don't know. There's not. I've got to have to repeat on something at some point, but. Yeah, Scale Model Vamp says, Chris, I got a Klingon Battlecruiser 148th and never did spaceships before. Something new every now and then helps with skills. Yeah, I like to mix it up. I mean, I know people do specialise in armour or planes or spaceships and stuff, but yeah, changing it up is always good. I wouldn't want to become too fixated on anything. And even the scale, I do like the 144 stuff, mainly because I've got room to have a few models, around. But if you build a tank, you can put it on top of your spray booth. You can't go wrong, can you? Whereas if you've got a 1/16 one, where am I going to put that?
Yeah.
But
I think something of that physical size really needs to be RC, something that you can actually go out and use and drive through the mud and what have you, because it's either that or you need an enormous display space.
Yeah, which just isn't practical for me and for a lot of other people. But
a lot of these 1/16 models lend them to being made into RC builds. So
yeah, that's true.
What I don't get is people buying the Armor Tech stuff. If you know
what stuff.
I think it's Armor Tech. I'm not sure if I'm remembering the company name right, but it's those guys who basically build everything in milled aluminium.
Oh right, yes. Yeah.
Like artillery guns in 1/16 scale in billet aluminium, that actually every part that needs to move moves.
Yeah, I suppose it's kind of it's quite a skill. I mean, you're basically machining it. You're making the real thing in miniature, as a working thing. So there's a definite skill in it, but that would be it's an awful lot of work and an awful lot of material cost as well, I would think.
Yeah, but that's my next point. They cost upwards of 2-3 grand.
Yeah.
You get your Tiger 1 all in aluminium, and it looks and feels like a real tank because of the weight, and you get your. But that's like, I think it's 2 or 3 grand, something like that. And then you need to add up on top at least another grand in your controller, your electronics. Yeah. The motors won't be cheap. Moving something like that, those will.
Oh no, because it's going to be heavy, isn't it?
Yeah, going to be top end motors, which means heavy, expensive lipo battery. So it's like, Jesus. It's a rabbit hole to go into the RC stuff, I think.
It would be kind of cool for what it is, but so expensive, yeah.
Jamie says it was Armor Tech, by the way. Yeah.
But you can spend stupid money. My ex's father-in-law used to build steam locomotives from scratch. He used to build them from plans, brass sheet, brass tube, soldering, and all that gubbins. Yeah. And he used to make the boilers. He used to make the whole thing. He used to bend and rivet, and I think pretty much the only things that he really bought were the wheels and a few other sort of ancillary bits, and they were beautiful things. They were amazing, and it was in Chesterfield, and there was a track nearby that there was a club used to go to this track, and they had 2 different scales. They had the sit on and ride ones, and then the slightly smaller ones. I don't know what the hell the scales are, but he used to make the slightly smaller ones, and then they'd take them there to test them. And some of these models is the same kind of thing as Vincent's talking about. It took like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 quid for a steam engine.
Yeah,
it's terrifying. But I mean, they were amazing. They were beautiful, but
it's something where German modelers excel at as well. It's like the things they do with RC and miniature engines and actually get. There's a guy because one of my local airfields, right, used to be a World War I and World War II airstrip, and they have this yearly meetup of RC planes, and there's this one guy who comes up in like, is it a 1/6 scale Sopwith Camel, and then the engine is an actual petrol Star engine, Star radial engine. It's like just the engine alone. I'm like, if you crash that,
but that's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what they do. It's the same as driving a car. If you drive a car around, that's a few grand. If you crash it,
But what
the only difference is with something like that is you can go to a scrapyard and get bits. If you've made that from scratch in 1/6 scale, you can't just go to the space shop and buy a couple of bits.
Well, no, but if you made it, then you made it. You know how to make it again. And
there is a guy on YouTube who built a fully working, I think that's something like a 1/6 scale Ferrari V12 engine, and that is a work of art. It's absolutely incredible, and it shows like it's like a time lapse of the milling, the machining, the fitting, and building, all that kind of thing, and then they even made the spark plugs, actually little bits of copper wire and then an insulator, and it's
a bit too much. Troughton Chard's in, says evening all at work, so we'll be in and out. So welcome, and I hope you're not working at the moment. You can hear me say hello, but then you can go away and do some work. Scale Model Muse says I'm about to pay $115 for a tiny game. A whole 8
$115 for a tiny game piece.
So so that makes the big tank engine thing almost cheap.
It does. Well, there was something on. Was it on the Boom Hut? Somebody put a link up to a. It was an Ed 209 looking thing from Chappie, and it's a resin kit that's being released, which apparently is going to be about $500.
All right, yeah, I think I saw something about it, but I
can't remember the name of it offhand. But it was a bit Ed 209 looking. I have seen Chappie, but it was a while ago, so I can't remember the specifics.
Yeah, I remember Chappie being a little robot. It wasn't a big thing, was it? It was.
No, Chappie was like a little man-sized robot. But must have been a bit. I can't remember it, but there must have been a bit in the film where there was this.
Vamp says Chappie's Moose for $500.
That's the one, Moose. That's what it was called. But,
and News says I saw that. Oh my god, it's nice, but no.
But if you're buying a figure that's 8 inches tall for $100 odd, then I'd say that's fairly comparable to a $500 big chunk of resin. I think somebody on one of the comments said that it was about half a kilo of resin.
I was going to say how big. Well, I mean, I know resin doesn't have to be any particular size, does it? So that'd be quite.
That would be quite sizable, wouldn't it? I would think.
I've not done any resin, so I don't really know. I don't think it's that heavy, is it?
I don't think it's excessively heavy, but that's what I mean. If it's half a kilo of resin, it's got to be quite a sizable model when it's built, I would think.
Muse says she can buy 5 armies for that money.
More armies, all the armies.
Yeah, it comes down to are the bits hollow cast or yes, no, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sergeant Bones is in. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Sarge.
Phil, sorry, I missed a bit. I had to step away. It wasn't anything interesting. You're all right. You didn't miss anything. It's fine. Vamp says can buy a resin kit and resin your own stuff with $500 can do a whole lot. Yeah, but you need the thing to the mold or the first thing to do. Although you could do that for your armies, couldn't you? If they're all the same characters, you just need hundreds of them. You could just make one and make your own copies of them, or get a 3D printer.
This is what I'm really loving about the 3D printer because there's so many models out there of really interesting things like this.
Here's one I prepared earlier.
This one that I've started printing, which we've got the 2 halves. We've got a Wolverine versus Deadpool.
Oh right,
I love this one. It's great. You've got I don't know how well you can see that because it's all one color at the moment, obviously. But what you've got is Wolverine, who's got his claws stuck into Deadpool's chest.
Oh right, yeah.
Sort of physically lifting him up off the floor, while Deadpool's got his katana stuck through one of his biceps and pointing his gun at his head.
Yep.
And then there's a base that comes onto. I mean, by the time I've done with this is probably going to be about half a kilo of filament.
Yeah.
But the difference is a kilo of filament's 15 quid.
Yeah.
So.
But how long did it take to print that then?
Each of these bits was 8 to 9 hours, and I've done the first part of the base, which is that bit. That was just over 7 hours, which is basically, it builds up in, I think there's either 4 or 5 pieces to the base, and it builds up into, like, it's a heap of collapsed rubble, and then there's a girder and a fire hydrant and a couple of other bits to go on top. So working on that principle, say another 4 pieces at 7 hours each, and then probably five to 6 hours for the other bits, the girder, the hydrant.
You're talking about a week and a half.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of time, but all I do now with these is I get the print started. If I'm doing a long one, I don't like starting a print if I'm leaving the house. I just don't like the idea of leaving it running if I'm not in.
Yeah.
But I'm quite happy with sort of starting a print and letting it run overnight. So, you know, I'm okay with that. The printer itself is sat on a glass table, so it's, you know, it's very well insulated from anything.
I'm interested in the figures you got there. Were they? Did you have much cleanup to do on them and stuff? Or
no, literally all I've done with these, as I say, it's very difficult to see because of the colour of the filament. This is just some filament that I've got that I'm testing out.
It's an interesting colour. It's almost sort of it makes it hard to see on camera. It's indistinct.
It's like shimmery, iridescent. I didn't realise it was going to be like that. The yellow is kind of similar as well if you look at the smooth sides.
All right, that just looks yellow to me, but
that's sort of a bit shimmery. But the top where the texture is, not so much. But I just, because all I've used so far is a plain white, because it's generally for making models, I just fancied trying some coloured stuff. So I picked up a couple of cheap rolls off Amazon. And the green and the yellow are both like a little bit more translucent than I thought they would be. I expected them to be more of a solid colour.
Yeah, but I say it's going to be painted anyway. It doesn't really matter what colour they are.
It's going to be painted anyway, yeah.
So how much supports and stuff were there on that? And
I used tree supports, which is an experimental curer thing. You know, if you've got your experimental tab at the bottom. And what I did is I sliced it in half, basically just dropped it through the build plate.
Yep.
This came as a complete thing. Well, you've got an option. It comes in bits like the head, the arms, and everything else. But I decided to print the combined model, and I dropped it through the build plate so that I could print the legs that way up, and the bodies that way up, and that way you're not getting loads of support material that you've got to clean out from up under there. So the only really rough areas on here are, we've got a tiny little bit at the back of Wolverine's right leg there, and then round the sort of spiky bit of his boot, where it's and it's just on the edge, which is fairly easy to clean up. But I used the tree supports for these. Deadpool's legs were all right because they're pretty much straight up, apart from a little bit of support on the toes. And the tree stuff, it's hit and miss. The tree supports work really well on some things, like organic shapes like this. But
Deadpool's head must have had some support.
Just a tiny little bit on the nose, underneath there, and you can just see a little nub on the end of the nose that's going to need a little bit of cleanup. I don't know how well it's going to.
I can see the nose, but I can't tell if it was support.
Tiniest little nub on there, which.
All right, that's interesting.
But yeah, on organic shapes, the tree supports seem to work really well. But I've been discovering more settings as well in Cura. One of the things, for example, see on straight shapes like this, the standard supports seem to work better because these have got little holes which are locating pegs for the rest of the bit. All pieced together. But when I first sliced this, it was giving me a print time with with a decent enough infill to get this detail laid on top, about 10%. And it was giving me a print time of about 10 hours or so. And then doing a bit of digging around, I found out that you can actually, if you go into your infill menu, because all I've been using is infill percentage, you can set it, I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but you can set it so that it will graduate the infill. And
yeah, you can have it for like skin thickness or something, or
something. It's not quite that, but it starts off with like a much lower percentage infill at the bottom, and then as it's coming up to a bit where it's got to lay down a layer on the top,
all right, it puts
you
higher
can
in there.
increase the infill, and you can increase it in steps. So all I did is I set it at 10% infill and just 2 steps. So it prints. It's going to be a bit hard to see, but if I shine a light through that, I don't know how visible that'll be, but you might be able to see the infill pattern.
And just see all of it. Oh, a little bit. Yeah, it's like big diamonds on it.
Yeah, like that. Well, that's 5% at the bottom. You can't really see the top very clearly because of the texture.
Yeah.
But the way it worked is, as it built up, as it got to a bit where it needed to lay the top layer down, the 2 millimeters just before that, it would double the infill to 10%, and then lay the texture down on top.
Yeah, that's quite good.
So that's like minimize the printing time and minimize the amount of filament use. So that's something worth looking at next time you print something.
I'll keep meaning to do something more substantial again, but just you know.
Well, this is the initial reason I got the printer. This is the reason I wanted it, is to print stuff like this, so I can build stuff like this and paint them. And there's so much out there, and while there are some amazing resin kits, and I mean, admittedly, you're not going to get resin detail with an FDM printer.
No, but the detail is good enough, isn't it?
It's good enough for me. You're not going to get resin detail, definitely not yet. But you know, these are getting better and better, and it'll not be long before the SLA printers are coming down in price. And up in size to a decent size, and you'll be able to print your own resin figures before long. So, but yeah, I think that's very, very cool. And it's like I say, it's all keyed. They've got little locating pegs and stuff, so the figures will actually lock onto the base, and when it's all together.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I await the finished kit in another 3 days.
Yeah, maybe not. Might take a little while more. No, as I said, the long prints, what I'm tending to do with the long ones is I'll, if I've got a bit that I know is going to take a good few hours, I'll start that on a Friday night, and I'll just do it over the weekend when I know that I'm in and around all the time.
Yeah.
Because I don't like the idea of, I wouldn't want to get up in the morning, find out there's still 2 or 3 hours to go, and then have to go out to work and leave it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Completely, you know. I'm not sort of confident enough at this point to do that. I know some people have got like remote monitoring setups and stuff, but I'm not that posh. I've not got anything that posh.
I see all the chat's been talking about blue stuff, which I think is that the molding thing.
To be fair, Speedy, you can get cheap IP webcams nowadays.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys on the 3D print forums using sort of Raspberry Pis and webcams and all sorts of things, and they can link them up in such a way they can remote monitor, and they can actually use the Wi-Fi to remotely stop a print if it fails mid-print. You know, because sometimes if a support fails or something like that, and it starts printing in mid-air, it's just spewing spaghetti all over the place. And you can stop it remotely, but I'm nowhere near knowledgeable enough to do anything like that. I could probably go as far as sticking a webcam on it so I could see it. But the problem with that, there was one guy on one of the 3D printing groups who said that there I was at work in my break. I decided to check on the print, so that it had failed, and it was literally just spewing spaghetti out, and there was nothing I could do.
Just sit there and watch it do it for the next 4 hours till you can get home. Yeah.
Spewing plastic out and thinking, damn.
You'd rather not know.
Yeah, so you'd be as well off just leaving it. But no, I'm not sort of knowledgeable enough to do anything like that at the moment. Plus, it requires messing around and flashing the firmware and doing all sorts of stuff that I just don't want to do.
Scares me.
Yeah, likewise. Because I don't understand it enough to do that. I'm sure it's probably very easy when you do know what you're doing, but I'm a bit.
I think I'm getting results that are good enough for what I want. I know I can tweak it a little bit more and get a bit more detail and a bit more of this and a bit more of that, but I'm worried about making it worse, basically, or ruining it or bricking it, or Yeah, so.
Exactly. Well, that's it. It's the same with mine. I mean, I've not really. Loads of people get obsessed with upgrading them, with printing bits to add on and do all this kind of stuff. And initially, before I'd got mine delivered, I'd built up a list on Thingiverse of upgrades to print.
Yeah.
Then when I got it and built it, and I did my first couple of prints, I thought, I don't even need half of these things. And I've printed useful things like a tool holder that clips onto the frame so I can put all my Allen keys in. Scraper and stuff in, and I printed a drawer that goes in the front so I can put like odd bits of tools and spare nozzles and things in that, and just practical stuff. I think the only actual upgrade per se is a different cooler, because the stock cooler.
I've got a fan thing for it. Well, the other thing I printed was a spool holder that goes above, that holds the spool actually just above the machine, rather than having to have it by the side, and it just made more sense for me to have it there. So
well, the stock one on mine comes with it on the top.
No, that's even better.
I was never entirely happy with the path, with the filament sort of going down, so I've actually side mounted it, and it feeds much more direct. It just seems to feed a lot smoother from the side, but I guess each machine's different as well. So is yours yours a direct drive though, isn't it?
I don't know what that means.
It feeds the actual motor that pulls the filament through is on your gantry, on your Y-axis.
It moves around.
Yeah, so obviously a top feed would make more sense for yours, because then it's going straight down and moving across with it, whereas on the ender it's what they call a Bowden feed, which is a tube. So the extruder motor sits on the side of the upright, and then the hot end is there, and then you've got a tube that the filament goes through, and the extruder motor pushes it through the tube.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. So
because of that, mounting the spool on the side, it's feeding straight into the extruder.
That makes sense, yeah.
So in your case, obviously makes more sense, because the direct drive, it's one of those things. It's apparently a trade-off thing. Direct drive's better for a lot of things, but potentially you can't print.
Changing filament can be a pain. Changing filament can be a pain on it, because it doesn't always go in exactly where you need it to. You have to physically take one of the fans off to get to where you need to get to look to where you poke it, and
that could be a bit of a bugger, I imagine.
I try not to change filament as often as I've got an orange one on at the moment, which is fine for anything I want to do.
Well, that's the thinking with mine. I mean, my general use filament is any sort of pale coloured filament that I can print a model with, as long as I can see the detail on it, because I'm going to prime and paint it anyway. And the sole reason I got some different coloured ones was because I've got a few sort of Pokemon based things that I'm going to print for my boy, and some Raspberry Pi cases and things like that, because he's quite into
things that you're not going to paint, you want to do in
things that rather than what I've done so far is just printing bog basic white PLA things, which are a bit boring. So I thought if I
printed a snowman thing. What's the frozen snowman?
All right, yeah.
Olaf. That's it. I printed one of them last Christmas for my eldest, and I had white and orange, but I didn't have any black. Right. So I just printed it in white and painted it black.
And painted it,
for the arms and the.
Well, tell you what I did do. I did this one in the white filament. So just a sort of simple Batman bust off Thingiverse. But what I like about it is it's zero infill, so it's basically just. So what I plan to do with it is sort of mask off the eyes and the bat symbol, paint the rest of it, and then I'm going to get a little like LED tea lighty thing on a base.
So just with the eyes and the symbol light up here.
So the bat symbol and the eyes glow. I think that'll be kind of cool. But yeah, it's there's some fun things, but there's so many models. There's so many things that you can make, and like I said, as nice as some of the resin kits are, they're just so expensive.
Yeah, I've noticed that on a few things. While we're here, I see there's actually 17 people watching. There's not that many in chat, so if you are watching, just click down to the YouTube icon just there. I don't know where, about one of them. Make sure you're actually in YouTube watching it on the actual app. You should be able to find a live chat button. Click that, come along, say hello, chat to the guys. There's still people in there. I see Ray from Malta's just come in. So, hello, Ray. But yeah, come and join us. Say hello. Give us something to talk about, because I think we're finished on 3D printing now.
Yeah. Throw some suggestions in. But yeah, you were saying somebody in the chat was talking about blue stuff.
Yeah, they were all talking about blue stuff for ages. Yeah.
Yeah. There's they might have mentioned it in there actually, but there's a video by Serge some what do they call him? He does some really great builds and weathering and damn it, I can't remember the name of the guy. But he's got a video using blue stuff to make molds. Uses blue stuff and milliput type epoxy putty. So you use the blue stuff, melt it in the hot water, shape it around your part like a space marine or whatever, and then use an epoxy putty. You basically make two halves with keys in, and then use epoxy putty to make a mold. And some of those look really good. I'll have to try and find it now. It's a brilliant video. It's really good.
Vamp said the Japanese stuff's white, so it's blue stuff but white. I bet they just call it white stuff.
Or something like that.
I hope they call it white stuff.
There's a Japanese one called Oyumaru or something like that, which is the same stuff. Yeah, it's the same stuff essentially, isn't it?
I think that's the original stuff, and then Green Stuff World basically.
Right.
They had blue stuff on it.
Right, so that came after, I see, right.
Yeah.
I think I saw someone asking earlier, Vincent, if you'd finished your static grass applicator.
That's the channel. It's Plasmo.
Yeah, Plasmo.
Oh, right, yeah.
One of his videos, it's Blue Stuff Oyumaru, how to cheaply cast miniatures or plastic models.
Cool.
And it's really interesting. It's really good.
Yes, I have finished the static grass.
Yeah. Does it work?
Yeah, it does.
Ooh. And it hasn't killed anybody yet.
Nope. Power lead for the negative lead for on the board, and then, well, obviously my power lead is currently disconnected because there's nothing in there anyway. So what I just do is bung this in there, so the web is electrified. But yeah, it works. Cool. Still makes a scary as hell sound, but
really, like electrical noises.
Yeah, you can just hear the static sort of sound of the discharge, but that's how, because that's what most of it is. It's basically a big capacitor making it into, what is it, like 15,000 volts or something like that?
7 million billion volts.
Is that a built from scratch one, Vincent?
Yeah.
Because I know I've seen a lot of the modified from those bug zapper things.
Yeah, but my worry with that is dust can get in. You can get hairs and bits, like you're working, a hair falls off, that'll get in, that'll get charged, and that'll be on your board then. So
yeah, well, that's not so much of a problem for us, you see.
Well,
this is true. Yeah.
But I forget the name of it. I'll quickly look it up on Amazon, my order list. There's one central component you need to buy, and then it's basically whatever you find around you that works as a cup. Because I had a bit of PVC tube left over, so that's most of the housing for the parts. Then the cup itself is, I think I paid like €1 or something like that. It's like a 99 cents.
I saw it was a Star Wars drink cup thing.
Oh, right, so it's just like one of those plastic drink mugs that you get in the pound shops, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I found it funny to team it as a Star Wars one, because it does sound... So, it sounds like a lightsaber when you turn it on anyway.
That's cool. You should do a tutorial video on that, Vincent. That'd be really interesting, I think.
There's many tutorial videos already done about it, and I've done mine based on one of those videos. So
all right, right. Because I've only ever watched the ones where they basically take the guts out of those bug zapper tennis bats and use a sieve.
If you want to do the proper size ones, Boulder Creek Railroad does one on YouTube.
Ah, right. Yeah, he does some really good stuff as well. Luke Towan, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, I found it here. So basically, the heart of the entire contraption is a negative ion generator, which basically generates static electricity.
Oh, Steve from Totally Scale Models in saying hello. How's your foot, Steve? Is it still attached? We haven't heard this week. He had a bad foot, and he was not going to the doctor about it apparently. But
oh yes, yeah, I've not had any updates on that.
No, we haven't had any updates on the foot. I was a little bit concerned about it, but now you're here. Tell us what's what.
Let us know.
And Vincent's saying hello, Ray. You know you can use real words when you're on camera.
Oh yeah, you guys are always talking, so you know, interrupt.
No, interrupting is all the fun of it. When there's only 3 of us here, interrupting is all right. Right. So, anything else happening? Not really. Don't tell me we can actually do an hour, and now I said it was going to be an hour and a half, and we finished talking after an hour. And
yeah, somebody in chat's got to have something to talk about.
Yeah, something to talk about, or any questions, or
there was mention further back in the chat. Trotton Chart mentions the Wingnut Wings 35th scale Lancaster.
Oh right.
I've seen a couple of little bits about that. That looks like it's going to be a very, very nice, but probably horrifically expensive model, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I should expect so. That's quite big, though, isn't it?
Yeah, 35th Lancaster. That's going to be some size, isn't it?
32nd.
32nd, is it?
Yeah, but there's already a cheaper alternative out with the HK Models one.
Yeah. Steve says, a lot better. I've been on antibiotics since Monday, had it dressed twice, been able to put shoes on tonight. So, yay.
Well, that's got to be good.
And apparently he drove past my place of work tonight. Was it still there? I'd already gone home, I assume. Was it still locked up and safe? Phil says, I think it comes with its own divorce papers, the Wingnut Wings.
Yeah, I dare say it'll be horribly.
Yeah, I think it's probably not as bad as the Dora, but
yeah.
It'll be getting there.
Similar size box, though. I wouldn't be surprised.
It's gonna be,
it's
gonna be as expensive as a Dora, Chris, easily.
Yeah.
You think? Yeah.
Because they're putting in. Because
Are they going to have a full interior and stuff?
Right. I've got the HK Models B17 with like all the aftermarket, and that cost me a silly amount of money. And they're doing that, but in plastic. So they're doing that completely in plastic, so it's going to be expensive as well.
Yeah.
Even their World War I bombers are about 250 quid, aren't they?
Yeah, none of the models are cheap, are they? But
well, that's why I like doing 144 stuff, because it's cheaper.
Yeah. There's the space thing as well, though. Like you've said before, I mean, with 144, you can, take you a long time to put a set of shelves.
Over your spare room because it's got 3 models in it. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's I like them for the novelty of some things, like the. I think you should try and get a hold of a couple of the Sweet aeroplane kits. Sweet, yeah, they're 144th, and they're so nice. The detail on them is lovely.
All right. Yeah.
I built a BF 109G and a Trop and a Hurricane Zero. Done 2 or 3 of them, and they're really simple builds, but they're so nicely detailed. They're really, really nicely detailed. And I picked them up for not a great deal off eBay. They're Japanese. You've got like a sort of cutesy anime picture on one side, and then a more sort of general, still cartoony, but a picture of the actual aircraft on the
other. Right, yeah.
But they're not like an egg-planey, cartoony style thing. They are actually like proper scale.
Cool.
But they're lovely little kits, really nice.
Yeah, and that's the small things in 144 are tiny.
Yeah.
And because they're tiny, there's obviously very few parts. I think that the tank that sits up there I think it's got 6 parts to it. I think it's like, you know, a turret, base, bottom of the base, 2 tracks, and that was it. But
yeah, I built a one. I think it was a 1/100th Panzer IV thing. It was a Zvezda, I think. It's one of those that they use for the tabletop wargaming things.
Yeah, Art of Tactic.
That was similar. It was like base, the top, the turret, and the two sets of tracks and wheels that just sort of slotted onto the side. So really simple, but it looks nice though. Looks good.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be difficult, does it? Sergeant Bone says to me 1/16 is small. I suppose it depends what you're building, but no. I've got a 144 Dora in the cabinet over there to build.
Right. I didn't know they did a 144.
Yeah, I think it's about that big, the total build. So I mean, it's a fair size kit once you built it.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you do that in 16th, that'd be, you know,
crap,
you build it in your garage.
I thought they only did sort of 72nd-ish, like, is it HO scale?
Hobby Boss does 144, 172nd, and then obviously Sword Art, which I recently learned is a subdivision of Aoshima, did the big Dora. They don't do it anymore, obviously. But Sword Art still does a couple of kits. They do a really big World War I artillery gun as well. Not as big as Dora, but still.
Yeah, there is another. I've seen a couple of builds of another one. It's a stubbier barrel. It's an artillery railroad gun.
Right,
yeah. I think it's that. Is it Trumpeter? Yeah, Trumpeter does that in 1/16.
Yeah.
Troughton Trod says there's a Japanese 135th Lancaster coming out as well.
Right.
And John Paul says, been showing guys on my live feed how to scratch build a drag car chassis.
The Japanese 132nd scale one. You're probably confusing the Hong Kong models one with because I don't think there's a Japanese company that's doing one at the moment, unless Tamiya is doing one.
I don't know. So it's coming out, so not out yet, but don't know.
Don't know, possibly. That sounds interesting. The scratch build drag car chassis. I like the sound of that one.
Kenneth's doing a 1/3 scale bust. It's very heavy. Is that the Geralt thing from The Witcher? What you've been doing? That's very impressive. That I like that.
Yeah, he's
it's quite scary looking.
Yeah. 1/3 scale. That's quite some size then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have a look after we're done with this. I'll have a look at that, John. I've not seen your channel before. I've just had a quick nosy and subscribed to you, but I'll have a look at that because I like the sound of that. I love anything that's to do with modifying car kits and things.
Yeah, I'm assuming a drag car is just going to be long.
Yeah, it's. I'm assuming it means like the funny car kind of things, big wheels, big wheels at the back, little at the front, that kind of thing. I'm guessing.
Yeah. John says there's 14 parts so far on the chassis build-up, so there's obviously 14 parts and more to come. Right. Like. Long form videos is what we like.
Yeah.
I posted a link to one of my videos on Reddit or something, and people were complaining, saying, "Look, that's an hour-long video, and you could have just put up an album of pictures, and I could have looked at it in 2 minutes." It's like, well, yeah, but it's not what it's about.
No, I think. See, there's a lot of platforms. This is why I don't really get on with a lot of platforms like your Twitter and your Instagram and all this kind of stuff, because it all seems to be about quick, instant gratification.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of nice sometimes when you watch a video that's a minute long that shows a time lapse of something going together, and you go, that looks amazing. But then you think, I'd love to see how they did that in more detail. Yeah. I'd like to actually watch
Well, that's the problem with making videos, is trying to think how much to show.
Yeah.
I mean, the U-Wing video that premiered a little while ago, I didn't show cutting off of sprues or sanding down bits, because everyone knows how to do that. But at some point during the build series, I'll do a bit of that just to have it in there. But you certainly don't want to see me, you know, literally building the entire thing from start to finish, because it will literally take hours.
Yeah, that's it. And the majority of people watching a video of a specific model are already well versed in the initial prep, cutting, sanding, and all that kind of stuff, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, even the bike, the 1/6 Tamiya bike that I built, which I think was 9 parts to the series, and I worked out it was about 5 or 6 hours of video total to build it from nothing to that. But that wasn't everything either. That was, you know, I'm going to do this bit now live on camera, but then I'm going to do the same thing again to the other side, or, you know, the other bit.
To be honest, for a 1/6 scale bike, that's actually fairly concise. That's you know, that's not a lot of videos or a lot of video time to build something that big and detailed. You could have gone into an awful lot more detail on something that size easily.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, that's actually pretty good going for something that size. But there are still some people out there that would expect you to cram it all into a 10-minute video.
Well, yeah, 10 minutes too long. I've only got 2 minutes to watch it. Colin says there's a TV show starting soon with The Witcher. Yeah, that's the one with thingy in it, Henry Cavill.
Is that based on a game? And I'm not familiar with
The Witcher series was a series of books to begin with that they then made games of, and The Witcher 3 was one of the most successful games of recent times. Very big and popular and everything. But I think the TV show, I think it's a Netflix show that they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that it's set before the game and possibly even before the books, because there's been a couple of stills and a short video of him sort of coming out of darkness, and people are complaining because he hasn't got a beard or a scar over his eye or something.
So it's kind of obviously fantasy kind of.
Yeah, it's sort of. I don't know. I played a little bit of the game and then sort of got distracted by something else, so I didn't really play very much of it. But I think it's definitely like a sword and I think sorcery type thing. But yeah,
yeah. Fantasy, see, when it comes to games, I like some of the artwork and some of the characters from games, but I don't game, so I don't know a lot of these things. But I know I've noticed a lot on the 3D printing side of things. There's a lot of sculpts which are characters from games.
Yeah.
And you look at some and you think, oh, that looks really cool. And where's that from? And somebody will say, oh, it's from, I don't know, Red Dead something or other, or Space Hawks something. Oh, God knows what, Halo, or goodness knows what else, you know.
I can imagine those are popular because usually when it comes to games, it's all pre-colored stuff you're buying. And that's true for a lot of anime stuff as well. You'll get a lovely figurine and you'll think like, oh, if that was only resin, so I could paint it myself. But no, you're going out do 300 for a pre-painted figure.
For a pre-painted one, yeah. Well, a friend of mine, he was a huge Lord of the Rings fan and read all the books and then loved the films when they came out, everything else. And he's bought, and it's a really nice figurine, but it's a Nazgul on horseback. And he paid 300 odd quid for that, and that was cheap when he bought it. He actually got a discount on it, and it's sizable. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a good, it's kind of, it filled most of your average cutting mat, you know, the physical size of it.
Yeah.
But it's a pre-painted thing, and when I've been to see him, I've looked at that no end of times and thought, I'd love to see what somebody with real painting skills could do with that, because they could make it look absolutely amazing. But as it is, he paid something like 350 quid for it, I think, as a pre-painted thing.
Sergeant Bones says he had more fun watching the missus play The Witcher than he did playing it himself. And John says Witcher is a good game. Trouton Chard says there was a great TV show about the Battle of Britain using RC model aircraft recently. I saw a little bit of it, but yeah, that sort of thing would be quite interesting. But the trouble being when you're doing something like that is obviously it's a historical battle that you're trying to reenact, so everyone's got to play their roles and do exactly what needs to be done. So it sort of, you know, makes me wonder why bother.
Yeah, it'd be sorely tempting to just kind of just go off script a little bit, wouldn't it? Just go and shoot something down that when you were supposed to get shot down yourself. And
yeah.
But yeah, I did hear about that. It sounds interesting. Unfortunately, I don't have terrestrial TV, so there's a lot of stuff I don't see. I see the odd bit streaming. When I see terrestrial TV, it's whatever happens to be on at work, which is usually things like The Chase or or Jeremy
I'm
Kyle.
sure it'll be on some sort of streaming somewhere at some point.
But I tend to catch things on live streams that sound interesting. But if can you remember who was it who mentioned it?
Trout and Child mentioned it. Yeah.
Can you remember the name of it,
Roger? I
stick it in the chat.
see it around somewhere, but I'm sure we'll find it for you.
Yeah, I can have a look, see if I can find that, because that's the kind of thing I'd find interesting.
Yeah.
I used to fly RC many moons ago.
I wonder if they're still actively working on that show about the 8th bomber fleet, because Steven Spielberg was doing a new Band of Brothers style series based on accounts from the 8th bomber fleet, right? The guys who bombed over Europe.
Right.
I saw clips of it. It looked amazing, but I haven't heard
And
it.
it sort of faded away. Yeah.
I've not heard anything about that.
The Weta Workshop thing, they're doing that World War I thing, that they're colorizing all the old footage.
Right.
There's a film they're making there apparently. It's Jackson and Peter Jackson. I've seen a few videos of things that are like old footage, and then all of a sudden it all just becomes coloured. So he's been going back through doing a lot of that and using a lot of footage of that to make a new film, which looks interesting.
That sounds really good. Speaking of Peter Jackson, have you heard anything recently about the Dam Busters remake? Is anything?
I haven't heard anything, no.
Because I keep hearing little bits and pieces, and I'm really.
What I heard of Peter Jackson doing is that he's making the I forget the name of the overspanning series, but the one about the cities that move.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
The books at the moment.
I've seen
historical thing or fantasy thing.
Yeah, it's a new fantasy project. It's steampunk. Basically, it's the idea behind the books is it's a post-apocalyptic world, has been for like 1,000 or 2,000 years, and people have moved into what is known as traction cities, basically cities that move.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first, I don't know, it's a movie, isn't it? It's not a series that he's doing. It's a movie.
Yeah, it's a movie. Yeah, I've seen the trailer or a sort of teaser trailer for it.
On the first one,
because it shows a small city getting attacked by London.
Sergeant Bones comes to the rescue. He says, "Mortal engines."
Mortal engines. That's the one. Yeah. Yeah.
Kenneth's got another question for you, Spear. Actually, I know he was asking about your tattoos the other week. He asked, "Do you dye your beard? Your patches of white are very well placed."
I do. Yes. This is called Distinguished Off White. It's a special. It's a special product I buy from the chemist. They have it mixed for me, and it's called Distinguished Slightly Grey Off White.
Yeah, mine just happens all over generally, but it's normally this bottom bit that goes first, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the same with me. It looks like I've almost got a handlebar moustache thing going on with that, but yes, sadly, it's that's just the glare from my light. It's not grey really.
No, that's right. It's like the top of your head. It looks shiny under the lights, but it's hair really, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's all hair. Lots of hair up there.
Right. Sergeant Bones says my beard did that naturally.
Yes. Yeah. Do you know what's scary is? About a month ago, I was clearing out. I've got a cupboard at work where I keep all my stuff, and it also tends to be the place where anything that gets left around and nobody knows what it is or who it belongs to or what it's for, they just go, "Oh, chuck it in mixed cupboard." So so I go to it every now and again, and there's just loads of crap in there. So I went and had a really good clear out about a couple of months ago, and I found an old ID card from about 2 years after I'd first started there. And I was digging through, it's like, oh, look, my old ID card. And I took it out, it's like, oh my God, I had dark hair and a dark beard. What happened? And it is like, oh.
Yeah, time takes all of us down at some point. Yeah.
It does. No, it's not good. Not good at all. So at least the hair's not got much worse. It's still going gradually, but what can you do?
Not a lot. You could paint it on, I suppose. You've got an airbrush.
Yeah, Have you ever seen that? It's an American infomercial. It's hilarious. It's spray on hair. it shows these various guys, and they've got like the bald patch at the back, and they get this can and just going shh, and it's almost like Vincent's static grass applicator.
I was going to say that might be a use for Vincent's static grass applicator. Yeah.
It's like it sprays on, but it sort of stands up, so it looks like short, spiky bits of hair. It's hilarious. It's absolutely fantastic. It probably rubs off as soon as you touch it on anything.
Oh yeah,
as
you
well.
can't touch it. I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to touch it at all.
Absolutely great. Absolutely great.
Yeah. Dear.
And annoyingly, my brother, he's actually starting. He's several years older than me, and he's just starting to lose his hair.
Yeah.
Just starting. He's always had a really thick head of hair, the git.
My dad's still got a full head of hair, so I don't think I'm in any danger of losing it. I just trim it down every so often, but it's...
How about the milkman, though? Does he have a full head of hair?
Yeah. Who has a milkman? Nobody has milkman anymore.
Sorry, the Amazon delivery guy.
Yeah. Right, you're lucky to see one of them as well. Sergeant Bone says he's often wondered if they could make it green for grass, the hair in a can.
They probably could.
Well, you could probably just spray it and be done with it. We've got a visitor. Someone turned up. No, it's not. It's Spid losing his signal and going away.
My thing's going funny. Hang on.
I thought it was a new person turning up, but it wasn't. It's you going. But
everything's going wrong. I just plugged my phone in because it was going flat. Hang on.
Oh, there you go. You plugged it in and broke everything.
I have.
I wouldn't worry too much because I think we're going to start wrapping it up now. Because
no, I think it's died. I can still hear you, but the thing's died.
we can still hear you as well. It's just that we get your little picture. Oh no, you're back.
There we go.
He's back in sideways.
Too many buttons. Too many buttons.
Strawberry touch screens. They're all buttons. He's done it again. He's broken it again.
I know, I've done it again. Technology.
Well, on that note, unless there's any last minute orders, then I think we'll call it a night for the week. Anyone got anything else to talk about? Mention? Say? Anything? Anyone? Last orders chat?
No, nothing in the chat. Is that it?
No, I'm going to call it then. Good night, all. Thanks for coming and joining us again this week. So only 3 of us in this week, but you never know. You never know who's going to turn up. That's the interesting thing about these shows. We don't have anything planned or anything. Phil says Spid breaks the internet.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Very neatly.
I have a certain set of skills. Some of them useful occasionally.
Yeah, but probably not. Right. So thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us in the chat, because it's the chat that keeps us going. Otherwise, we're just listening to Spid talk about 3D printing all the time. So
absolutely, yeah.
I'm going to see if I can press the right button this week as well, because before I pressed the hang up button at the top, not the stop broadcasting button down the bottom. I think it did the same thing in the end, but it did leave everybody else that was still in the chat chatting. So I'm going to press the right button tonight and stop the broadcast. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again same time, same place next week.
Bye, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.